Hi everyone. I just felt like sitting out in the garden and creating an off the cuff hello check in newsletter video. I've been sort of having some thoughts and wanting to do a little bit more of this kind of just sharing time video vlogging style stuff. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about chaos. There's a lot going on in the world, in the news cycles, and it's also like the change of the seasons and the climate change, and there's just a lot going on that feels very chaotic. And even on social media, right? Like things have just gotten out of control with all the trolls and the bots, and a lot of us met there. And I've been, as many of you know, really renegotiating my relationship with that and creating my own alternative network so that we aren't caught up in the corporate and sort of toxic chaos that can happen on social media. We can take the good parts and we can have our own network. And but also I've been, observing other types of chaos in the garden in terms of the things that we're needing to change in order to adjust to these changes in the bigger picture. And thinking about how, chaos is a design tool, right? I mean, we talk about it in our permaculture courses and about finding that balance between chaos and order and recognizing that it's a cycle. It's not a static condition. So if you're constantly resisting, pushing against chaos and always insisting on order, it's going to force it into a chaotic situation. And just like if you're constantly trying to create chaos all the time, then, you're going to end up in a more rigid situation against your will, probably like jail, maybe, that's an example. So, in the garden, how can we use, I feel like stuff like chop and drop is like a perfect example of a very chaotic technique. Chop and drop is like when you cut your weeds, instead of pulling the weeds out of the ground, you don't disrupt the soil at all. You just cut them off at the base and then you drop them there and use them as a mulch, and they just decompose around the baby plants. And it works really well in some situations, especially when we're talking about perennials, like perennial herbs and such. There's no reason to really, disrupt the soil around those perennials. You can really end up uprooting them. So it makes sense to just cut the weeds and then use them to mulch around. I don't use chop and drop, just to go off on a little diversion about chop and drop. I don't use it for my vegetables, for my baby vegetables, because I like to just really eliminate all of the competition in the root structure in that situation so that the baby plants can really thrive. Anyway, that's another topic, but it sort of connects me to the other part of what I want to talk about with chaos is decomposition. And I think one of the reasons, now we're getting really philosophical, but I think in some ways, and I've said this before, that permaculture and sustainability in some ways can be sort of like religion or salvation, in that a lot of what we do is focused on what we think is going to happen when we die. And it's important to ground down into the present and into the quality of life that we have right now also, and to have there be reasons that we do this that are connected to the right now. And part of that, I think, is becoming comfortable with our own death and with the death of our culture and the death of our species, or perhaps the death of the planet if we keep going the direction we're going, right? But also to embrace decomposition. So as gardeners, we love compost and we love it when stuff breaks down, right? But then in our own lives, when things start to decompose and fall apart and change, we resist that, don't we? We push back on that, and just like we do on chaos. So I'm thinking about, chaos and decomposition and fertility and their connection. And I'm inviting conversation on this topic. I'd like to do some writing about it and just sort of like the topic of the month. And so if you're also thinking about this stuff, come and join us in our forums that I mentioned earlier. Facebook is great. Most of us met there. Or if you found us on Twitter or Instagram, that's totally great. We're still posting to those places, but please come join us in our community. It's so much fun. And we've got about 1,000 people so far. We're growing very fast. We've only been up for about a month. So come on down. And then also in terms of managing your personal chaos, I wanted to remind everyone about this Design Your Daily Practice. It's one of my free mini courses. It's 10 classes. I think it's definitely worth a donation. We do get amazing feedback. Of all of my different courses, I've got the year-long free permaculture course and the Find Your Eco Niche course and emotional permaculture. This Design Your Daily Practice one is the one that I get the most sort of heartfelt written feedback about how helpful it was for people. So if you're in a place where you're feeling kind of scattered and you're getting caught up in the chaos, then check that out. I'm going to put a link to that in this month's newsletter as well. And yeah, I would love to hear back from you. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next month, probably sooner because we're launching some stuff soon. So I'm going to send out an email. Okay, bye.